Hey millennials, you want to see what socialism looks like? Just look at the violence and despair that's going on in the current uprising in Venezuela right now. We'll take a look at it. Plus, Joe Biden leads a field of 20 Democrats in the latest presidential polling. And Stacey Abrams, who ran for governor of Georgia, still thinks she won. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the 50th episode of the 13-Minute News Hour. I can't believe how fast we've been growing, and I just want to say how much I appreciate it. And on YouTube, we just passed 25,000 subscribers. So, folks, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and hit the bell so you'll get notified. All right, let's dive into the show. What I want to start off with is Venezuela, because it is the perfect example of socialism. And I want to kind of drive it home to the millennials out there who have embraced socialism over capitalism as if it's this some cure-all to everything. I mean, you've seen Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. You've seen Bernie Sanders' socialism. This is the result. This is what happens. And let's just dive into some of the latest. Here's a report from CNN. Venezuela's embattled president, Nicolas Maduro, has claimed his troops have defeated a coup attempt amid calls by opposition leader Juan Guaido for protesters to return to the streets Wednesday. In a live televised address Tuesday night, his first since the apparent uprising began, Maduro rejected claims he has lost control of the military and accused imperialist forces of seeking to attack and overthrow a legitimate government to enslave Venezuela. All right. That's the socialist government side of it. Here's the other side. The speech followed a dawn address by Guaido Tuesday, in which the young opposition leaders, standing alongside a group of soldiers in the capital Caracas, announced an uprising to seize power from Maduro. It marked the most serious challenge to Maduro's leadership so far and unleashed a day of street protests and skirmishes. Despite the government's claims that the Tuesday uprising had been quashed, Guaido, who is the head of Venezuela's National Assembly, said that Operation Freedom would continue. And so, again, this is the start with Hugo Chavez and now to Maduro. It's socialist, totalitarian regime that turned the most prosperous, the richest country in South America into squalor, where people do not have food. They're eating dogs on the streets. And yesterday, when I turned on the news, I saw this picture. And you've probably seen it. This military vehicle is preparing to just drive into the crowd of people, just drive right over them. This is what's going on in Venezuela. And it's just so interesting that it's come to this, and you see the stages of socialism. And here's just a report. This came out in the Daily Caller yesterday about the gun situation in Venezuela. Venezuela banned private citizens from owning guns 7 years ago, leaving firearms solely in the hands of the army and the police. Now, as the country's opposition attempts to oust the oppressive Maduro regime from power, it is a decision some have come to regret. As the unrest in the country approached a breaking point, some citizens told Fox News in December that they wish they had guns available to them to fight back against the Maduro regime. A 2012 gun ban made that option all but impossible. It was never easy to obtain a handgun permit in Venezuela, but at least before 2012 it was possible, Daniel D. Martino, a Venezuelan expatriate, told Daily Caller. Since Venezuelans are unarmed, we now depend on a military uprising for our freedom rather than a popular uprising. And what's amazing is that just yesterday, MSNBC, in covering Venezuela, actually made our pitch, the pitch we make as pro-Second Amendment people, and it was absolutely stunning to see it from MSNBC. Here's the clip.
Maduro is hanging on.
And not only hanging on, but he appears to still control the military. You have to understand, in Venezuela, gun ownership is not something that is open to everybody. So if the military have the guns, they have the power. And as long as Nicolas Maduro controls the military, he controls the country.
Okay, so I don't know how long that clip's going to stay on the internet, but it's just so funny. I can't imagine Andrea Mitchell sitting there listening to a report that just supports our Second Amendment and the whole reason it was put in there in the first place. But what really stuns me in this whole thing is how millennials can embrace socialism so much. We've gone over it in previous episodes of the show, the polling that shows millennials prefer socialism over capitalism. And you see with this with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders and others that want to push socialism on America, where it ends badly every single time. And I just want to bring you guys back to 1989. I was just 21 years old. So even though the world was changing so dramatically, I wish I would have been a little bit older to truly appreciate it. And I just want to show you some clips. This is 1989, showing people under socialism, under communism, and doing anything to be free. Here's one clip. This is from the Berlin Wall.
Post-war order in Europe has changed. Millions of East Germans locked up for so long have a measure of freedom now that most of them had never imagined.
And then you have Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia today became the latest of the countries of Eastern Europe, once held so tightly in the Soviet grip, to throw off its hardline communist yoke. Bowing to pressure from the growing pro-democracy demonstrations throughout the country, Communist Party boss Milos Jakic and all the other members of the Czech Communist Politburo resigned.
It was victory.
And then there's Romania.
There were scenes of celebration. Romanians by the hundreds of thousands dancing, singing in Bucharest's Republic Square, waving flags with the despised socialist emblem ripped out.
So many people fighting for freedom, so many uprising. Freedom literally swept over the world. And unfortunately, it wasn't successful in every place. And here's a clip from June 1989, which to me, I guess every generation has that one clip, that one picture, that one moment that just is burned in their brain. And for me, it's this one. It's so powerful. And again, the reason I bring it up is because I was just 21 back then. I have a daughter now who's 22, and she's got a good head on her shoulders. But I think about this generation. How could things have changed so drastically, so dramatically in one generation, to where you have all these people around the world demonstrating to all of us how much they want freedom, and now a generation later, you've got people in America saying we should go socialism route. It's just absolutely unreal. And what's interesting is that when you have military vehicles running over people, that there wasn't a single tweet yesterday from Rashida Tlaib or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, thinking about the Venezuelan people. Ilhan Omar tweeted out this. She said, "We should be encouraging dialogue and free, fair elections in Venezuela, not violence. I believe U.S. intervention will only destabilize the region more and cause even more suffering." Well, we're not encouraging violence, but that's the only choice. They had elections. They weren't fair. They had dialogue. Socialism took over, and look at what you have. Without guns, Guaido needs to gain control of the military and fight back. That is their only chance. And I mean, it's just tragic to see the young embrace socialism when you have an example like this. All right, folks, let's move on to Joe Biden. CNN just put out a poll, and it shows that since his announcement, he's gotten a major bump, and he leads. There's a number of polls out. We want to go over the CNN one, and I'll put this up on the screen. It shows Biden with 39%, Bernie Sanders coming in at 15%, Elizabeth Warren 8%, Pete Buttigieg at 7%, Beto at 6%, Kamala Harris at 5%, and everyone else is under 2%. And here's more from the CNN report. Biden's lead extends across every major demographic or political group, though it shrinks among some younger voters and whites. Still, only about a third of potential Democratic voters with a preference in the race say they will definitely back a candidate they currently support. 64% said they could still change their minds. Those who say they are locked in are more apt to back Biden. 50% in that group support him. 21% Sanders, 8% Warren. All right, so Biden came out with his first campaign video. He added another one recently, which really tries to tie him into with Barack Obama. So let's take a look at that.
He led our efforts to combat gun violence. He could not have been a more effective partner in the progress that we've made. The best part is he's nowhere close to finish.
All right, so he's running a big risk there, tying himself to Obama, because he has to run on the Obama record. And what's amazing is just the other day, he came out with a statement that says there is not a single whisper of scandal during the Obama administration, the Obama-Biden administration.
Inconceivable!
And here's a report from the Washington Examiner that goes through that. During the Obama era, in which Biden served all 8 years as vice president, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives spearheaded a disastrous gun-walking operation in which it lost track of 1,290 firearms from a total of 2,000 that it allowed to be purchased illegally and circulated into Mexico. One of those firearms was used later in the murder of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry. In the ensuing congressional investigation, America's top law enforcement officer, Eric Holder, who actually described himself as the president's wingman, was held in contempt by lawmakers, making him the first attorney general in U.S. history to hold that designation, or that distinction. And of course, there's more. Here's more to that. During the Obama era, the IRS was weaponized against conservative groups. Obama's intelligence chief got away with perjury after he lied to Congress about his agency's secretive mass surveillance activities. Obama's Secretary of Veterans Affairs resigned in disgrace after it was revealed an estimated 307,000 veterans died awaiting medical attention. Obama's Office of Personnel Management was hacked. His Secretary of State maintained a homebrew server in her bathroom so as to avoid record-keeping laws and procedures, and Justice Department spied on journalists' phone lines. All right, and that doesn't even get to the big one for me, which is Benghazi, when they could cover up the deaths of Americans serving our country and blame it on some ridiculous video that they knew was false. Biden's going to have to answer to that and all the scandals. It's just amazing. So finally, we have Stacey Abrams, who ran for governor of Georgia, lost, and can't come to terms with the loss. Here in a report from the Washington Free Beacon, she says this: Democrat Stacey Abrams said she is comfortable saying, "I won the 2018 Georgia gubernatorial election because something happened regarding voter suppression to push Republican Brian Kemp to victory." In an interview with New York Times Magazine, Abrams said she continues to claim victory because of the totality of information about the election and also because she transformed the Georgia electorate. Abrams lost by nearly 55,000 votes to Kemp in the closest governor's race in decades. So I don't know what it takes to lose by 55,000 votes and still claim you won, but she's out there claiming it. She might even run for president because I guess that's what people do if they're Democrats and they lose, like Beto. So who knows? She was on another program a couple days ago saying that she was going to announce something soon, maybe governor, maybe president, who knows. But folks, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is a 13-Minute News Hour.